8:07, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and Jim Talamonte.
In Fort Heights, the ramp from south, the small plane crash which happened there late yesterday afternoon. Expressway, the delay started Harlem. It's now 32 minutes, so here to downtown, 16 from Montrose. Eisenhower. The travel time is downtown, outbound 32. Minus 20 minutes, 95th to downtown. Outbound, there's a crash in the express lanes at Pershing. It just cleared, but there is a backup there. On AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's morning 560 Weather Center, our meteorologist Steve Williams.
Periods of clouds and sun. Storm tonight, low 51. Sun and clouds. Thunderstorm on Friday, the high 62. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
At 8:30, Chicago's morning answer with 60, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa power. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Oh, the rule of law is still very much on the ballot. Interested in covering a live Facebook Live video while onlookers laughed and in the struggle with the assailant had to be airlifted, had completed, and the individual had to be airlifted out. What you'll see on that video, but that's where we're at. Where we're at is the musings of Colin Kaepernick, Nike's $100 million man, writing in Medium. Yeah, like Patrisse Cullors, the founder, the Marxist founder, co-founder, Warner Brothers, to produce like the Kaepernick deal with me. Without Policing in Prisons is a partnership between Kaepernick Publishing and the Medium publication Organizing and Freedom Fighting. Published 30 essays from what he terms political prisoners. Each week we will bring a collection centered around a different theme: police and policing, reform, not F reform meaning as in frack. Abolition. When do we want it? Now. Abolition of police and of intent of policing is to surveil, terrorize, capture, and kill specifically black folks. Is that your view? That the view of the majority of black Americans? Not according to... He wants it all to go because he has a vision. Another world is possible, writes Kaepernick, a world grounded in love, justice, and accountability, good health, a world grounded in meeting the needs. He could be a congressman from the Bronx with that kind of sentimental pablo. Chop zone businesses have filed a lawsuit against Seattle for not providing police to protect. Minneapolis residents are blaming the defund police movement. The utopian vision of Colin Kaepernick doesn't have much currency. Asked by the fungible MSNBC correspondent that's moderating. Ollie North, combat decorated U.S. Marine, #1 best-selling author and former president of the NRA. He's got a new book, Our Heroes Fought For. Colonel North, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate
Thank you very much for being back with you. And all the issues you just raised, David and I interviewed for this book. And they're asking the question, is this the American? And their questions are very much along the lines of what you just raised. The increasing attacks on the Second Amendment, the attacks on law enforcement. In other words, turning away from our moral roots to political correctness, the destruction of our First and Second, the Ninth and 10th Amendments in our Bill of Rights. Quoted in this book, we're proud to raise these issues, and they're looking at it as the consequence of their service. Every one of them are volunteers. Anybody who came in the service, volunteer. Everyone who came since 9/11/01 knew they were going to go to a war. What these experienced veterans have bled for, and came home to, and they're saying, "What the heck has happened?"
Well,
so
yeah.
This our country's going to look like.
And I hasten to add, and I'm sure many of those veterans you spoke with did as well, that we absolutely fought. That's not the
Absolutely.
issue. The issue is adopting it as public policy. That's the rub here, right? In 21st.
And on top of that, you've got, because all of this political machinations of the far left, this is the very far left in the framework you just described. That's what's up for grabs here in 2 weeks. And when you look at it, if you've got a veteran in your family, veterans in your neighborhood, get them a copy of Veterans Lament, because it describes what's on some of those issues. All the ones that are in this book are the kind of lives on the line. And Dan and Amy, you know, my themselves at risk for the benefit of others. Not by looting, not by burning, not by anarchy, becoming vandals, but by doing what, Lord, I hope that we're going to do that in this election.
Unfortunately, national security has been relegated to night's presidential debate. But nonetheless, the president can matters foreign and national security related as much as he wants. And it seems to me, and it'd be interesting to get the perspective of veterans, his principled realism has.
Amen to that. And you look at the kinds of things that he's done, both domestically and internationally, to make America a safer place. The possibilities of war have diminished because of his that are fighting the longest war in American history. Get those folks back to this country. Use special operations the way they're best meant to do. And al-Baghdadi and he needs to be able to do, and he does it well. This is not a president that varies even by an inch from what he promised to do for our country. An embassy to Jerusalem, a brilliant move. The peace accord that he negotiated with the help of others. Israel. All of those kinds of things make America a safer place. It makes us less vulnerable to international intrigues, the likes of which the Russians, the Soviets, and particularly the Chinese are waging. That Joe Biden gets elected president.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, Lieutenant Colonel, what do you think America would look like under a Joe Biden presidency?
If you can, I mean, I remember vividly the Carter campaign advertising the fact that global freezing. I've got somewhere buried back in a box somewhere the cover of Time magazine showing the skyline of New York City covered in ice. And that was what everybody was forecasting. Because it was causing global cooling. I mean, if you looked at the politics of it, this is a guy, Carter, who had 22 nations descend into anarchy. Those are the kinds of things that put us at far greater risk. Domestically, socialism began under Jimmy Carter and has continued because the House of Representatives does President Trump's efforts on behalf of the United States internationally have made Americans safer, less likely to be attacked, because a strong military deters war. And bad guys know that. And so this president has for things that don't make a whole lot of sense. And on top of that, he's got the backing of literally hundreds of senior military officers who have said, we're not backing this guy Biden. And of course, the mainstream media doesn't put that out any more than they put out the story by Kaepernick.
And what's their take on what they've seen from the intelligence community over the last 4 years? I'm talking about the CIA, I'm talking about the National Security Council, the previous administration, too. Frankly, some of the holdover. You're a military man or woman. You're a person who believes in the rule of law, not the rule of men. And what have we seen from our top law enforcement and intel agencies?
These guys and gals that we interviewed for this, who came out of the intelligence, what the Biden administration did against American citizens. I mean, look at poor Carter Page. I mean, look at the fact that they were using the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act under the false pretenses that the Russians were controlling the Trump campaign. It's horrific. Afterwards, you know, the sad fact is the last administration destroyed the opportunities for America with Secretary of State John Kerry that we ought to make sure that, one, the Iranians get nuclear, being able to defend itself, and the unwillingness to do the right kinds of things in dealing with all of the various threats posed by Russia, Iran.
Folks that you spoke with believe this story that continues to be pushed, frankly, because that's what the D.C. press corps does, that President Trump ridiculed and otherwise denigrated.
You know, I got a lot of calls on that when it first broke, right? And that's one of the reasons why we have over 300 senior flag, quote, veterans for Trump, or veterans for Biden. What we've got out here, intelligence services of this country, with people that the president accurately describes as part of the swamp, on almost every issue, they've weaponized the intelligence community, presidency. And these folks know that. These folks see that kind of thing happening. And Lord willing, we're going to do the right thing here in 2 weeks, because I'm hoping we continue this with this command.
NRA, I have to get a comment on Second Amendment rights and the threat they face under a Biden presidency.
Well, you're talking to a guy who's here in Virginia. Northam is a gun-grabbing, baby-killing race baiter. Let's start with that. And he's taken this country in the wrong... A legislature that backs him on everything from live abortions with babies at the last minute. He's taken the Second Amendment and made it protect themselves. It's tough to find a place to buy ammunition in this state. And the American people know, most of us, that that's what it's there for. It's not there to let people hunt. It's there to make sure that Americans have the means of protecting. And tyranny is what we're going to get. Who want to take up arms against our government, who want to defund the police, who want to make sure that we can't enforce the laws of this country. Because what Americans ought to be saying is, who is better equipped? Who is the Second Amendment being one of the most important ones?
He is Lieutenant Colonel Ollie North, combat decorated U.S. Marine. Pick it up. Veterans Lament. Is this the America our heroes fought for? Colonel North, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, Amy.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. And he joined us.
talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show, Answer, on AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables. Time.
The product that you have given me here is, as far as I'm concerned, sent to me from heaven. I love it a great deal. It's making my life so much better. I feel so much better. And during this pandemic, I have no worries whatsoever. My immune system is, I don't seem to get colds or anything. I don't know what getting sick is anymore. This is so cool.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468. Nature.com, and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount.
Parents' old coins and jewelry.
I'm pretty sure they're worth some money.
Even